Okay, hello, magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Welcome sa BJT Solving Made Easy series. Ang goal ng video na ito ay para madaliin yung approach natin sa pag-solve ng mga BJT circuit in Tagalog. So hello, welcome. So before we solve our first problem, let's review the basic rules of solving BJT. So again, hindi ko na papaliwanag yung theories behind BJT, but rather we will be focusing on the solving part. So, first rule is that we start with the input. So, makikita niyo yung arrow na to. Ito magdidikta ng flow ng current. So, kung for example, may dalawang type na BJT, NPN pati PNP. So, ang patandaan natin niyan is that if palayo yung arrow sa base, so not pointing in, so that's an NPN transistor. When the arrow is pointing at the base, that means it's pointing in. So, PNP, pointing in. So, platandaan lang. And, since ang first rule natin is to start with the input, then that means na susundin natin yung flow ng pinakamalit na current, which is the IB. And the way we're going to do that is, let me grab a pen. The way we're going to do that is, for example, for NPN, ititrace natin yung current pag ganito yan. Right? Ayan. That means, if we're going to start with the input, we are going to start right here. Okay? And, i-apply natin yung rule number 2, which is use KVL. Now, what if naman sa PNP? Well, if the arrow is pointing in like this, so ang daloy ng current pag ganito, so, erase muna natin yung previous arrow. If the arrow is pointing right in this direction, then, ang direction ng current is paganyan. Pinakamalit na current, which is the IB. Therefore, we will be starting our KVL right here. And I will be demonstrating this, how to apply this in various BJT DC biasing configuration. On with the third rule, which is, remember, yung pinaka-basic na current relation. Dito yung IB. Nandito yung IE. And nandito yung IC. Yan. So, always remember na ito yung formula to relate. IE yung pinakamalaki, which is the total of IC plus IB. Now, every BJT also has a beta. Right? Beta. And this beta value relates also the currents to each other. So, always remember this formula. IE is equal to 1 plus beta times IB. Or, IC is equal to beta times IB. Ayan lang. So, ayan lang yung apat na rules and let's get started sa solving natin. So, for the first problem, ito yun. For, the section siya ng Electronic Devices and Circuit Theory, 11th edition, section 4.3, the first problem. So, we are going to solve the fixed bias configuration and we are going to determine the following. Okay, so let's solve. First, again, anong first rule? Start with the input. So, kung ito yung current, right? Ito yung current. And ito yung IB natin. Dito siya dadaloy. Asan yung start ng current natin? Of course, nandito sa taas. Ayan. So, we will be starting our KVL right here. Okay? So, first of all, anong meaning ng 16 volts? So, yung 16 volts, hindi siya negative, positive siya. Ang ibig sabihin lang niyan is may voltage source dito. Naka-ground yung kabila. May voltage source dito na naka-connect yung positive terminal sa node na to. Yun lang yun. If negative 16 yan, then yung negative terminal ay nakakonect dito na node. So, lagyan natin ng 16 volt dito. Ayan. For your visualization lang. Okay? So, let's start KVL. Yung rule ko pala sa KVL is kung saan lumalabas yung current sa isang element is yun yung sign niya. Okay, paminsan nalilito tayo sa signs. So, isa ito sa mga platandaan ko paano i-assign ng sign yung KVL. For resistance, always remember, pag may dumadaan na current sa kanila, kung may dumadaan na current, the current always flows from higher potential to lower potential in terms of resistance. So, dito, always siya, kung saan yung current dumadaloy, galing siya sa mataas papunta sa mababa. Ayan. So, always ganito yung configuration ng polarity ng resistor kapag may current na dumadaloy at a particular direction. Okay? So, always lumalabas yung arrow sa negative side. So, let's do the KVL. Let me type. So, first, anong gagawin natin? So, first, KVL natin, dadaan siya dito sa 16 volts and lumabas yung current sa positive side. So, positive 16. Oops. Positive 16. And then, next is here. Voltage right here. And lumalabas yung current sa negative side. So, minus the current. Voltage dito is current times resistance. So, the current, IB, times 15K ohms. Next is dito. Now, always remember, sa BJT, parang same lang din ng arrow dito. So, remember this arrow? Yung tail end niya, may positive dyan. Yung arrow niya, yung head ng arrow is negative and 0.7 volts. Ayan. Okay? So, always natin tandaan yan. So, after dumaan, positive 16 volts, then dito, and dadaan siya dito. Saan lumalabas yung current? Sa negative terminal. Sa negative side. So, negative din to. Minus volts. And then, yung last is ground na. When we hit the ground, we equate it to 0 na. Ayan. So, that's it. Ito yung KVL. And we have one equation, one unknown. So, anong gagawin natin pag one equation unknown? You can rearrange the equation to solve for IB. In this case, we can also use the calculator for shift solve. So, let's get ganito yan. 16 minus represent the unknown variable by x. So, x yung as IB times 510K minus 0.7 volts equals 0. Yan. And then, shift solve. Shift solve. Ayan. Maglalabas to and then just press 0 as a default value then equals. Ayan. Okay, that's nice. So, lumabas is ang value pala na lumabas sa shift solve is na-store siya sa variable x. So, let's bring the x right here. Call natin. Ayan. And then, for proper form, press engineer. Ayan. So, nasa 30 microamps. Let's just store it sa A muna para hindi natin siya mawala. So, here, we have IB is equal to 50 microamps. 30 microamps. Ayan. 30 microamps. Okay, so we have solved IB. Next, how do we solve IC? Now, remember yung third rule, which was, remember yung relationship nila. Remember yung relationship nila with regards to beta. So in this case, IC is equal to beta times IB. So we're going to do that. Dito, let's make use of this. C is equal to beta times IB, which is equal siya sa 120. Let's just do it below. Yan. 120. Then yung IB is 30 microamps. Ilan yung IC? Let's solve it. Ilan yung IC? 120 times A. Sa A natin na-store yung beta. So, it is 3.6 microamps. Okay. 3.6 microamps. Ayan. Okay. That's good. Next is the VCE. So, with regards to VCE, ang gagawin natin dyan ay, ang palatandaan natin is, yung meaning ng C at E is two particular points. It is the difference between two particular points. Yung first na mention minus yung second na mention. That means it's VC minus VE. Yan lang yun. And then, alam natin na yung VE is directly connected to the ground. That means we can assign VE, or at least alam na natin yung VE. VE is equal to 0. Kasi connected siya directly sa ground. Ano naman yung VC? Paano na siya i-solve? Well, we just have to know the voltage drop right here. Diba? So, ganito yan. Draw tayo. So, meron tayo ditong 16 volts. 16 volts. Ground. Yan. And then, so dito, 16 volts dito. And then, dadaan yung current dito, which is the IC. No, dito yung plus, dito yung minus, as always. So that means, from 16 volts, mababawasan siya ng voltage drop. Kung ilan yung voltage dito. And yun na yung VC. Okay? So, kung again, may 16 volt dito na source. So, ditong node is 16 volts. And then, pag as dadalo yung current dito, which is the IC, magvo-voltage drop yan. So, magiging 16 minus kung ilan yung voltage drop dito. At yun na yung voltage na nandito. Okay? So, ano lang natin, fina-follow na natin yung daloy ng current. Since, luckily, given na naman yung sources natin na voltage, i-voltage drop lang natin. Which is, we will be subtracting yung voltage across the resistance. So, let's do this. So, paano natin i-solve ang VC? VC is equal siya sa, start sa 16, minus, kung ilan yung voltage across this resistance. So, ano nga yung formula ng voltage? Resistance times current. So, resistance, 1.8K times IC. Okay? And then, yung IC, given na siya na 3 microamps. Yan. 3.6 microamps. Therefore, VC will be equal to 16 minus 1.8K times 3.6 microamps. Ayan. Equal siya sa 15.99. Wait lang, hold on. Mali pala tayo ng IC. Apologies for that. 120 times 30 microamps is equal siya sa 3.6 milliamps. Okay. So, milli to. Yan. Correction muna. Milliamp. Okay. So, once again, let's solve. Yan. Okay. 16 minus 18K times 3.6 milliamp. Equal siya sa 9.52. So, yan yung value ng VC. 9.52 volts. Okay. We have solved IB, IC. Ang VCE, going back to this formula, ang VC is equal to 9.52. Ang VE is equal to 0. Therefore, VCE is equal to 9.52 volts. Okay, so nasolve na natin ang VB na lang. So we will be doing the same technique. Start tayo sa 16 volt and then we follow the current. So when we were following the current, may voltage drop yung nangyayari. So the direction of current is right here. And then going to the VB. So 16 volts minus yung voltage across this resistor. So let's do this. VB. VB is equal to 16 volts minus IB times 510 kilo ohms. And then let's solve. Let's then solve 16 minus ang IB natin na store natin sa A times 510K. That is equal to 0.7. Ayan pala, 0.7. Actually, may other way pala pag-solve ng VB. And ano yun? So, here, sinundan natin yung daloy ng current. 16 volts papuntang VB. Diba? Sinundan natin yung current. That means, mag-voltage drop tayo. So, start dito na node, 16 volts, minus kung ilan yung voltage dito na dinaanan natin. And yun na yung VB. We can also oppose the flow of current. So, pwede dito mag-start. Since nandito yung current, pag ganyan yung current, pwede yung paakyat. Okay, we're opposing the current. And what happens when we oppose the current is that we have voltage rise. Okay? So, start tayo dito sa VE, which is the 0 volts. And then, we're opposing it. Dito, paakyat tayo papuntang VB. Mayroon tayong 0.7. So, in this case, kung dito tayo, kung we are following the current, it is 16 minus the voltage. So, subtracting siya. Dito, if we're opposing the flow of the current, so, from 0 na node, and then paakyat tayo, we will be adding. Okay? So, the other formula would be VB is equal to 0 volts, and then paakyat, which is plus. Ang dadaanan natin na voltage is 0.7. So, plus, kaya siya plus 0.7 volts. So, VB is 0.7. So, both solution actually works. So, pwede siya voltage rise or voltage drop na pa-solve. Okay? So, that's for our first problem. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment down below. Thank you.